Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm here to answer some of your questions. I received a ton of great questions. I just want to thank you guys for asking me these questions. I thought this would be a fun way to sort of get to know me a little bit better. And yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I am breaking this video up to two parts. So the first part will just be general questions that were asked, and the second part will be questions pertaining specifically to my daycare. I thought it would just be a little bit easier to break it up that way. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. This might be a longer video because there were quite a few questions. I'm going to try to get through them all today. So the first question I had was, who taught you to be organized and were you always that way? I would say that both of my parents are very organized people, so just having them as role models and influences in my life definitely helped shape me. And I would say I've always had the knack for organizing. It comes naturally to me. However, I didn't always use that skill. When I was living at home, I didn't necessarily have to be as organized as I do now, if that makes sense. So I think I remember even the first apartment that I had when I first moved out on my own, and it was just my husband and I living together. And I remember just going through drawers and everything, like organizing things. So I definitely have always had a knack for that. And now that I am a mom and have more responsibilities, I can see how much organizing has helped us. And so I think that just has sparked such a love for organizing. What is your favorite meal to cook? So I would say that it's kind of funny actually, because I do not like to cook. My husband is the better cook out of both of us. So his schedule and just sleep schedule and work schedule doesn't allow him to always cook at night. So I have been cooking a lot more. And you guys know I absolutely love my crock pot. That is definitely my favorite way to cook, is by using a crock pot. And I'm definitely starting to learn how to cook better, but it's not my favorite thing, to be honest. However, when we have our pizza night, so we make like homemade pizzas, our whole family gets involved. So my husband will stretch the dough, the kids and I will take turns, putting toppings on, and it is just so much fun. The kids get involved, and it's a really fun thing that we do as a family. So I really like cooking pizza together. And personally, my favorite meal to cook would be pasta fagioli soup. It is a crock pot recipe that I will be sharing soon, but I remember the first time that I made it, and I tried it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Like, I can't believe that I made this. It was just like such a sense of accomplishment, and everybody in our family loves it. My kids love it. My husband loves it. So it's a meal I really enjoy cooking because everybody loves it so much, and it comes out so good. So look for that video, because that will be a crock pot cooking video coming out soon. Another question that I got was, if you have 1 hour to yourself, what is your favorite way to spend that time? This is a good question, actually. I think that I've sort of gotten away from doing this, but I used to love, and I still do, I don't know, I think I just haven't done it in a long time, but I used to love taking like long hot baths. I just think that it was such a relaxing, it was so peaceful and quiet. And sometimes, I'm sure a lot of you moms can relate, motherhood is loud. And sometimes just having like that peace and quiet is so awesome. So I really enjoy, taking baths. I also enjoy planning. That's a huge hobby of mine, and I just find it to be relaxing and something I enjoy doing, so I like to do that. I also, again, I've gotten away from it, but I do like to read. I do enjoy that. It sort of takes you away from like where you are, so I like to do that. And I also like to do like manicures and pedicures. So those are probably some of the top things that I enjoy doing if I had like an hour of time to myself. Another question was, I was wondering if you could tell us how you met your husband and how long you dated before you were married. So my husband and I are actually high school sweethearts. We met when my husband was a freshman in high school and I was a sophomore, so we were like babies. And we actually had the same Spanish class together. And our Spanish teacher partnered everyone up in the class, and my husband and I were partnered up. And one of our first assignments was we had to introduce ourselves and say our address in Spanish. So after doing that assignment, we realized that we lived on the same street, which we never knew. So it was kind of funny. So we just started hanging out a lot after school, and my husband would make up things like, oh, I left my flashcards at school. Can I come to your house to study? And I later found out that he didn't actually leave his flashcards at school. He was just trying to make excuses to come see me. And we really became good friends. Like, we had a really great friendship before that blossomed into a relationship. And yeah, so that was how we met. And we dated for about 7 years before getting married. And we have been married for 6 years. And we are going on 13 years of being together. So, we basically grew up together, which is kind of cool because I think it's rare that people can get together that early or that young and still maintain a really good relationship. And I think that it hasn't always been easy, that's for sure, but the bumps along the way have definitely made our relationship stronger. Like, we definitely just have a bond that is pretty awesome. So that's how we met. What is the status of your home selling/buying situation, and what are you looking for in your new home? Do you have any plans or improvements for your current home before you list it? So this is kind of something that we had to put, we have to prolong a little bit. So originally, our original plan was that we were going to have our house listed on the market this spring. So like in a month or two, we were going to have it listed. And we have as a family decided that this year would be a really good year for me to transition into a new career. So with that being said, after my husband and I talked about it, we said, it's just going to be a lot to take on with me transitioning into a new career. I'm currently taking classes right now for medical coding, and there might be some time in between jobs that I will be unemployed, and we have a really low mortgage right now. We're really lucky and purchased our home when the housing market sort of crashed, and we got a really great price on it. So, I just don't want to take on more than we can handle and have it being a stressful situation. So we decided that we are going to wait until I have my career sort of back on track and to put our house on the market. So hopefully by next spring, hopefully by next year, we'll be ready to list our house. And I mean, honestly, our house, I really do love my house. I love the layout of it, and it does function for us. The location is just not ideal. So right now, I could tell you a few things that I would do to this house, and it would make me want to stay, such as we have a porch when you first come into our house, and I would love to close that off and make it into a mudroom. We also have a great basement that we could just totally finish off, and that would provide like double the square footage. But the location is something we obviously can't change, and we live on kind of a busy street, and my husband and I are actually we like more of a country setting, like a more rural setting. So we are hoping to move in a location that's a little bit more private with a little bit more land than what we have now. So that's one of the major things that we're looking for with our new house. We also do need a little bit bigger house. We would like a 4-bedroom house, so that way all of our kids can have their own room if they want to down the road. Right now my boys want to share a room, but if they change their mind down the road, I would like to provide each of them their own space. And with that being said, I also think it would be awesome to have, kind of like a rec room or a family room where, slash playroom that's separate from our main living room. So that way we can have a place where as the kids get older, they can kind of go and hang out with their friends or whatnot. So those are some of the major things that we're looking for in our new home. Our house right now has a garage, which is something we're not willing to compromise on. We love having a garage, so that again will be something that we look for. And as far as improvements, when we first bought our house, we did a lot of cosmetic things. We changed the flooring, the paint color, and I think that kind of brought it up, a little bit more modernized. And we really don't have any major things. We do want to replace our front door just because that's needs to be replaced. So we did replace the gutters on the house and also our boiler. So those were kind of some major things that we've already done. Other than that, probably just touch up paint again and get somebody in here to really clean the house. But I wouldn't say there's any major improvements that we're going to do before we list our home. The next question I have is, how and when did you start planning? So I've always done some form of planning. I did not know the planner community even existed until I discovered Samantha's channel, Happily a Housewife, here on YouTube. And she totally introduced me to planners and all of that. And I was hooked. I was always a list maker. I've always had a to-do list the night before for the following day. I've always sort of planned out what our week is going to look like. But I used a home management binder prior to knowing about the planner community. And once I found out about the planner community and how people decorate their planners and all the planners that they have available, I was hooked. So Samantha was the one who introduced me to the world of planning. Let's see, next question. If you were stuck on an island and could only bring 5 things, what would you bring? I had to think about this for a little bit. So I would say, number 1, my family, because I'd be totally lost without them. So they're coming with me to the deserted island. We're all going to be stuck there together. Number 2, I think this is sort of like the homemaker in me. It's kind of funny. I just always have to make anywhere, like we could go camping and I need to make my campsite like a home, and that's the first thought that I had in my head was like, okay, how would I make this like homey? And I would bring like a tent or a big some sort of shelter. I think like a tent would be cool because you could just wrap it up, and if you had to move locations, you could just easily move it with you. But something that would protect you from like the sun and the elements and all of that. I would want some sort of shelter. So I would bring a tent. I would also want to bring like a Kindle or a tablet of some sort, assuming of course that this island has Wi-Fi. And I would, want to have some form of like entertainment, so that way I could, read books or watch movies or listen to music while being on the island. And another one would be water, because I could not imagine like having to find water. I'm not a survivalist at all. So I would want tons and tons of water, so that way I would not run out of that and have to find my own. And also, on that same sort of note, a lifetime supply of Reese's. If I'm going to be stranded on an island, I don't care how fat I'm going to get, because nobody will really see me except my family, and they love me for who I am. So a ton of Reese's, a ton of water, a tablet or Kindle of some sort for entertainment, my family, and a tent or some form of shelter is what I'd need, and then I think I'd be fine. Number 2, if you could make your own lipstick shade, what color would you pick, and what would you name it? I would pick like a pinkish coral, kind of a mix, not like super coral and not super pink, kind of a mix between coral and pink, and I would name it Sweet Summer Kiss. Sweet because of the pink, summer because of the coral. That just like coral just screams summer to me. That's like my signature color in summertime is coral. I love coral. And yeah, and then obviously kiss because it's on your lips. So it would be a pink coral shade and Sweet Summer Kiss. So maybe I should patent that. Number 3, which is your favorite store, Ulta or Sephora? I would say Sephora, because that's what I'm mostly familiar with. We don't actually have a lot of Ultas around here, so I would say Sephora because that's where I typically go. What did you do as a career before staying home with your kids? So when I was in high school, I think I was a sophomore or junior, I started working at our local hospital in the medical records department, just doing filing and scanning and that sort of thing. And I actually stayed at that job through my first year of college. And then after, let's see, what was this question? After my first year of college, I decided to get a full-time job, and I stayed in the hospital, and I worked in central registration department full-time, registering patients, ordering tests, that sort of thing. And then from there, I got a job in the hospital, in the physical therapy department, doing secretarial work and insurance information and all of that. And I really liked the clerical aspect of the hospital. And so I think that's sort of why I have this pull to get back into it, and medical coding is where I am going to focus on my career now. What did you study in school? So I went to school for a year. I didn't go for very long. I started out wanting to do nursing and quickly realized that I freaked out in like medical situations when I had to take care of people. Like, that freaked me out. Thank you to all you nurses out there, because I definitely could not do it. I don't know, I almost like panic. And when I worked in central registration, I had to work in the emergency room on the weekends, checking patients in, and that's when I really realized, like, oh my gosh, this is not for me. So, yeah, I decided patient care was not my avenue, and I switched my major to early childhood education. And after the first year, I just felt like I did not have a real focus of where I wanted my career to go. I tried out 2 different, majors, and I just couldn't quite pinpoint what I wanted to do, and I sort of felt like I was wasting my time and money. Not that an education is a waste of time or money, but at that time, I felt like it would be more valuable for me to get a full-time job rather than continuing to go to school and not really having a focus or a goal of what I wanted to do. So that's sort of where that was. Next question. How do you style your eyebrows? Okay, so this is kind of funny. I get a lot of comments on my YouTube about my eyebrows. People like my eyebrows, which is thank you. But it's kind of funny because in high school, like, the style was thin eyebrows, thinner eyebrows. So I plucked my eyebrows a lot in high school, and definitely kind of ruined the shape a little bit. So what I do is I still have the general like shape of my eyebrows, and it's not like I don't have any eyebrows, but I just take an eyebrow pencil and just sort of shape them in where my natural eyebrow would be, if that makes sense. So nothing fancy. I don't use like a stencil or anything like that. I just sort of eyeball it, and I just use the shape of my natural eyebrow to sort of fill it in. Next question. Do you ever not want to do your routines? If so, how long do you give yourself to relax before you get started again? Okay, so I just did a video about my daily routine, and within my daily routine, I have a morning, afternoon, and evening routine. So do I always get everything done on my daily routine? No. There are some times where I do not do everything that I want to accomplish, if that makes sense. However, my morning, afternoon, and evening routines are I've been doing them for so long, and they are so helpful to me. If I don't do my routines, I get more overwhelmed. So it's not necessarily something that I would even not want to do, just because it makes it harder for me. I don't do well with a lot of chaos, and I feel like having those routines set in place kind of eliminates some of that chaos. So I don't necessarily do everything every single day that I set out to do. However, I do usually stick to at least those 3 morning, afternoon, and evening routines within the day. It's just sort of keeps me on track as a whole, just knowing that I have those specific times to get things done. And it's become so routine. It's such a routine and habit for me to do it that I don't even necessarily think about it. It's just something that I do. I would say I've definitely gotten into ruts before where I don't feel like doing a lot of the extra stuff. And I would say I try to find motivation other places. YouTube is a great place to find that motivation. I just watch other, moms and other housewives out there, their videos, and it sort of helps me get back on track and motivates me. Also, there's a lot of like motivational books out there and just even quotes and stuff. I just sort of think about why I'm doing it, and then I get back onto track, if that makes sense.